that's what she said. I think that would be great. If you would like to put the two cuddling moth strips there, the second part of that question though, because you replied with the G1 GF 120. Have you been applying the GF 120 at that site as well?
No, I've never
Oh,
done
okay.
anything there. And
Okay.
I think she's slipped through the cracks because um, just in the past 3 days, as I've been flipping through some papers with some phone numbers and names, um, after, well, at the same time your text message came in, I looked at it and said, yeah, I remember seeing Lisa's name and her phone number. Maybe she slipped through the cracks and we were supposed to do something for her.
Yeah, well, I saw them working on the house, and it's been since 2019 that I had seen them. And so I just swung in. I was like, oh, hey, it's great to see you here. So, Alan, would you like me to follow up with her? Or I think it sounds like you're willing to follow up with her. You're the one that has the coddling moth strips. And then that way we can just close the loop with the follow through.
Yep, I'm
Okay,
on it.
cool. Thank you, Alan. All right, Stephanie, sorry, kind of jumped on and
No, that's okay. That's what these meetings are for, to talk about fruit and gleaning and stuff. I'm just putting some links in the chat for people. This weekend glean. So, okay, here's my cat. So we got the agenda for the meeting tonight, which it can be, it's kind of just something I put down, and um it's okay if we don't follow it. But then I did the fruit tree gleaning task assignment for this coming Saturday. So we have our sites, and I did some site checks earlier this week, and there's actually some really beautiful cherries out there. It's just like fingers crossed that they didn't all get eaten by the birds this past week, um, and in the next like 2 days. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, you guys can see there's 3 sites that are for sure, and then there's this one site that's a big maybe, because I was doing the site checks and I drove by this one site and I just saw this beautiful cherry tree full of cherries. And I was like, I need to contact these people. But it turns out that the property was just sold. And so there is nobody living there right now. They're just like, you can see like paint cans in the window and stuff, because there's like this big front window that when I walked up to the door, I could see. And so I left them a little door hanger, and I tried calling the real estate company to see if I could contact the homeowners somehow. Um, but I haven't been able to reach anybody yet, and nobody's got back to me. So I'm kind of thinking we're not going to be able to get to it, but it was so hard because I was like, oh, those are such nice cherries.
don't give
Um,
up. Don't give up. It's the weekends when you go out and weekend warrior. And so if we do a drive by or we're nearby and we see cars parked in that driveway, anybody? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. It's
yeah.
not
And
a
I was like, what if we just glean there and don't tell anybody? No, I'm just kidding. I would not recommend that, but it's just like, oh, I hope it doesn't all fall and just like get wasted. But yeah. But I won't give up, Paisley. I tried calling the guy again today and nobody answered, but it's okay. I'll try again.
like who's this Stephanie girl? She keeps calling. We should just call her back. I do want to say, I mean, we have gleaned at a real estate piece of property before. It was in Bremerton behind the college. And this person owned the property there, or they were selling what was it? They were the real estate. Point being, there was nobody there. There were so many so many apples, and we were invited to glean, even though that property was in its transition.
Hmm. Interesting. Huh. That's cool. Yeah, I feel like Paisley talked about this when we were talking earlier this week, and she was like, we should really contact real estate agents so that like when they see that there's fruit on trees that are being sold. I mean, we can almost offer them a service, right? Like we will clean up that fruit so it's not making a huge mess for your new showing or stuff like that. So I think that's a really good
Yes.
idea.
It's like making instant community. I think if I was somebody buying a home in a new area to have instant community, ooh,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Especially if we're doing like a neighborhood glean and like your neighbors come out and it's like, I don't know, that's
Uh-huh.
super cool. Yeah. But I did want to acknowledge that Shar has joined our meeting, which I'm really excited about. But she said in the chat that she doesn't have a microphone. So she's not able to talk. But Char, you can totally use the chat and we'll pay attention to that so that you can contribute if you would like.
Or she can phone a friend and I just put her voice through here. We have ways, Shar. I do not give up. So if
That
you
is
got my
true.
number in your phone, yeah, I have your number in my phone. So Shar, if you need a landline, reach out to me. Get the message through.
Yeah. But yeah, so I did just want to make sure everybody knew that this is the last meeting that I am going to be like officially at, I guess. Like I could be at other meetings, but this is my position ends at the end of the month, and then I do have a lot of stuff going on. So I will try to be at these meetings, but I'm kind of passing the torch to Alan for the meetings in terms of like setting them up and stuff. And so Alan is willing to set them up and do that for the foreseeable future, but or as long as he decides. Um, and I guess Alan was wondering if like what time
Oh,
is best for us to have these meetings and if this is the best time. I like this seemed like the best time for everybody who I was communicating with at the time, but obviously like attendees change and things like that. So I don't know if anybody has any opinions on when they would like the meetings to be, if they want to change the time or the date. Um, Definitely, you can email us or let us know somehow. Um, but yeah. Um, so I guess the big thing to talk about is that we are having our first glean. We already kind of talked about it a little bit, but we're having our first glean this coming Saturday. And the first site can be found on the task assignment for this weekend glean and on the Point app event. And so if you guys haven't signed up for that, I think I saw Kim. I know that Kim is here. You signed up, which I was really excited to see. So that's awesome.
Yes, I just went in and I just saw a couple positions still open, so I just signed up for me and my two kids.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And I like how the Point app now allows you to like sign up with your kids. I think that's really cool. And I was excited about that.
Yeah, it was a little confusing though because it had like my when I added my kids, it had me put in my name and then it asked for your birthday. It says your birthday on there. And I put in my birthday and they were like, no, the kids need to be between 0 to 17 year. So I put my their birthday in and then let me through and I was just like wasn't sure like am I signing up for me or for them? Like it was, but I got through it.
Okay, okay. Thanks for that feedback. Yeah, I didn't know it was gonna make you put in the age of your children. That's kind of interesting. I don't know why the Point app asks for people's ages. I always thought that was a little bit strange.
oh,
But
it's because as the Point app being a volunteer, uh, losing my word, but is that July? Juvie,
juvie.
no, that's Kim Shar. Yeah, but we should reach out to Juvie, Jovi. Alan used to work with Jovi a bit. Juvy. Alan, do you remember her last year? Yeah, yeah, I think she would dig on this. Where was I going? I was talking about something other than that. Oh, the Point app. it is, since it works with volunteer organizations, it's really centered itself as like that volunteer hub. And one thing of being a volunteer hub working with volunteers is really knowing your demographics. And by demographics, we reach different volunteers in different ways. So younger volunteers, uh, I'm not quite sure what social media or apps, but like thinking older volunteers, they like written things. It's the way that information comes to you. So like for me, Facebook, I'm in that age demographic. But yeah, it's really trying to understand its audience, how to best target them. And then also, like when I was at Vista, there was like this report that was given to us and it talks about volunteers and the different like the age groups where you find majority and what those age groups seem to participate in. And so as a user of those demographics, understanding them, it really helps us better connect with our audience. So yeah, they're a bit nosy, the Point app. They really are collecting a lot of demographics, but I think it's because they're trying to understand their audience because they've centered themselves as this application that's meant to entice and work with volunteers.
That's a good point. Yeah. And this is just something that came to mind. The committee meeting recordings that I have, I don't know why this came to my mind, but I just wanted to let people know that I had to edit some of them to cover up what I was showing on the screen because it was showing people's addresses. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They were getting blocked from being put up on YouTube. So you'll just hear us talking and then see like a big blank thing that covers the screen so that you can still hear what we were talking about, but you can't exactly see the things that we were discussing. And that's also why I didn't want to, I'm going to try to sharing things less on the screen and just asking people to look at it on their own screens, because we don't want to be putting up publicly information that is sensitive, I guess. But yeah. Cool. I guess I wonder if I know, I feel like it's hard because I am leaving and it is like leaving a little bit of this vacuum of like who's going to be doing these things and the gleaning coordination. So I guess I just encourage everybody. I know that some of you have said, that you aren't able to do that sort of thing at this time, and that's totally understandable. But if you guys do have any contacts, people who might want to help out with some more like computer work, calling people, stuff that is more related to planning and not exactly going out on the glean, I definitely encourage you guys to reach out to contacts that we also just sort of lost a volunteer who, not like a death, but like they said they weren't going to volunteer anymore. And they were going to be like play a bigger role in the gleaning. And so we do kind of need more volunteers for sure to like keep the momentum going. But it is a lot to ask of people. So yeah, I just thought I'd give a plug for that to you guys. But I do think that once gleaning gets going, I think there is going to be a lot of community interest because we've seen that in the past that people really love doing this type of stuff. So yeah, I think it'll be great. And on the agenda, I did mention that we do need glean planners for the rest of the year. People do this gleaning coordination, and there is a place to sign up on the agenda. So feel free to add your name to that if you guys can and if you want to. I also sent out an email to you folks about the gleaning planner kind of steps to becoming a gleaning planner, and it involves a quiz. And I just want to say that it's like very low stakes and you can just like, it's pretty easy. If you read the gleaning planner document, you should be able to just answer those questions real quick and it should not be difficult at all. It's more just a way to see like, okay, just kind of check that box of like, okay, they did read it and they kind of understand like what the whole process is. So it's really just a way to confirm that. And it's not hard. I tried to make it really easy. So yeah. Does anybody have any questions about that Glean planner process, the quiz, anything like that?
I need to take it and read it. I mean, I need to read it and then take it. I need to take part better.
I think you could pass it, Paisley.
Probably right now I should read. Yeah. No, I am really interested in the Gleaning planner and well, really interested. It just seems really exciting. I do like that part. It's kind of like putting together the hunt, and where in the county will we be going? Oh, and yeah. But I also think that there's getting the right volunteers into that role that feel that momentum and feel, like what they're doing in that work, and then communicating with homeowners about trying to schedule it. And it does feel a little touchy, especially with like cherries and plums that are very time sensitive. And it's just really having that voice of like, we're doing the best we can. We'll let you know where we're at. We'll let you know if we can get you on the list. Right now, we're trying all those kind of things. Or when you say those things, I mean, you mean them very intentionally, but you're always creating a space where if what you're saying, something changes, you've given yourself an opportunity, a break. And homeowners have been very understanding and nice. I don't think it's an uncomfortable experience for a volunteer to maybe get involved in. It's just, yeah, because it's last words. I'm so long-winded. The Gleaning planner is a little bit of relationship building. It's a lot of relationship building. It has to do with, yeah, if you like people and you like communicating and you like people to feel good, and then, not just them feeling good, but then feeling proud of the work that you put into it and seeing it come together. I think the Gleaning planner is could give a lot of satisfaction.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, even just like I agree with that totally. This makes me think a little bit just about the Glean coming up on Saturday, and it made me want to talk to you guys about one of the sites. I talked to Paisley a little bit about this already, but one of the sites doesn't have a ton of cherries, but she was so nice. And I really wanted to be she really wanted us to glean. And so I do have that as one of the sites that we're going to. But I am worried about like there not being enough for people to do. And I don't know. I just don't know how like best to go about dealing with those sites. Like that maybe they're right there on our list, but I don't know, there's just not enough fruit to like maybe make it feel worth it. And like how we can keep up a relationship with that homeowner without just, oh, sorry, I was reading what Shar said. Juvie is going to check the app for Saturday. Oh, cool. Thank you, Shar. I appreciate
Shar
that.
should be the Glean planner. That woman, and well, I mean, Shar, you would be talking if you could. I'm sorry, but she's a communicator. She's got arms out in the community and direct phone numbers to people. And for some reason, I feel like whenever Shar says, "Hey, you're going to show up," people show up. That's
That is
cool.
pretty cool. And Shar lives out in Seabeck, which I know a lot of people, Shar says you are getting sidetracked.
Any chance
Yes,
to brag about
but
people, though, if I can.
oh man, that's funny. Um, but anyways, I guess how do people feel about a site that like do we think that it's still worth it to go to this site and glean even if it's a small amount of fruit, or would it be better for us to just say, okay, we're not going to go there and just go to the other sites instead, that we know have a lot of fruit? I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that.
would that site maybe become a nimble glean? Even if it was a nimble glean that day, maybe somebody who's more experienced could split off from the rest to go visit that site real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a really good idea. Actually, that was something Paisley and I talked about as well. So I like that you thought of that too. Yeah, no, I think that's a really great idea. The only thing is, like with this site in particular, it's the trees are really tall, and so we are definitely going to need a ladder. And so it's like, as long as somebody has a car that can accommodate a ladder, then I think that could work. But it's like, I don't know if we're going to have that. I don't ask what cars people are coming in on.
My car, I bet I could fit one of our gleaning ladders in it, in my car. I think so.
Huh?
I think those gleaning ladders are like 6 feet, maybe. But then I kind of also saw a look on Ashley's face that made me wonder if she could fit a ladder in her car. But that could be a future thing too.
It would probably go
Um,
from like passenger seat all the way to the back. It would be tight.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, I kind of do the same thing. So,
I feel like Alan was going to say something.
yeah.
No, I just was thinking about the wide base on those um, three-legged ladders. They're very wide at the base.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of thinking that um, you have to account for that. And I think they're 8-footers, aren't they?
We have a couple 8-footers and we have one 6-foot, I think.
Okay,
We
and
have,
they're all
I'm not sure.
three-legged, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, those new ones. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you mean, Alan? Like that, what's the problem that that would create for a wide base? With a wide base.
Well, it makes it difficult to get into your vehicle.
Oh, yes. Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know they're really nice to have when you're there at a site, but it's like, how do we get it there?
Are you bringing the truck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the ladders are going to be in the truck?
Yes.
Okay, but you're talking about two people spinning off or one person spinning off and going over to the little tiny site and doing a quickie nimble glean.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like
Okay.
meeting back up with the truck.
Well, I'm going to be in my truck. Um, so, and I'll probably have my ladder, and my ladder is a 10-foot.
Oh, wow.
So I could initially be at the first site and say hi, and then go over to this little site and pick those cherries, and then rejoin.
Okay. That sounds great. Yeah. I think that would work really well. Juvie wants to know where would be at 10 so they could join. Sure, that's a good question. I think we are going to be at, so say, if you guys look at the fruit tree gleaning task assignment for June 29, the first site, that's site 198, that is the one that's really small. So I'm wondering if we would then start out, that makes it hard because we would, if we can, I want to start out at the Stampede Boulevard, but that's the one that I don't know if we're going to be able to glean. So I feel like we should just assume that we're not going to glean there. Then honestly, we'd probably, oh, sorry.
What's what's the biggest site?
The biggest site, it's tied between, so site 196 and site 26. So Brian Johnson and Emily Randall, those two, actually, the Randall property might have more cherries, but I feel like it was hard to tell. The site 196 had 2 cherry trees, and they both had quite a lot of cherries on them. But I think that the other site 26 had more. But
Okay, and if we're not looking at the point app, I think she referred to Emily Randall.
Yes.
Okay, so um so there's two sites that are pretty large in size, and we could probably do those two. And one person spins off and does the little one. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Probably have two people go to do the little one because just for safety reasons, if that's possible.
Well, there's room on the back of my truck for a ladder and then another person, to sit back there and hold the ladder.
Oh, okay. Paisley
No.
says that's not okay. Yeah, going down the Highway 3 with the person in the back of your truck, that's a great idea.
We could get a flag of some sort and, go down the road with a flag waving.
Here, real quick, I wanted to address Shar's question. Shar, I don't know where we're going to be at 10, but I can try to estimate that once I think about it a little bit more. But if Julie can, oh, sorry, Paisley.
Well, I think what I would do in this situation is we'll have a lead, whoever has been identified as the lead, share that phone number with Juvie. And so before she leaves their house, she can call the lead or call that number. And then that will
Yeah.
help connect. All right, we're going to be at this site for 10 more minutes, 30 more minutes, just kind of help engage. So maybe even before Juvie leaves the house, she does that quick little check-in. And so that way she's like, maybe I'll just hang here, at home another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to meet them at the next site. And so it just helps keep things really flexible because when you're out gleaning, it's really hard. You do the best you can in predicting you can, but time, it's nice to have that flexibility and have somebody that you can call because things do change rapidly sometimes.
That's a good point. Yep. Okay. Yeah, if you want to give here, you can give Juvie my phone number. I'll put it in the chat. So you can feel free to give her that. And it's also on the Point app. I'm the point of contact. So
So
yeah.
can you commit to one of these as being the starting point?
Okay, so I think then the starting point should be the Randall property.
And what time?
That'll be at 9.
So
Okay, I was gonna clarify that because on the Point app it says 10 for gleaners.
No.
you
and
might
it
wanna
has a
change that.
different
9
address.
Oh yeah.
Was it the intention, Stephanie, that at 9 o'clock, maybe the timing got off. I guess I'm saying that the equipment wrangler would probably start about an hour before everyone else. And so by Ashley saying, hey, the gleaners start at 10, it sounds like that's what happened because we have some events I see that look like they're really big. And it's just because of all those positions in there. You don't actually sign up for that whole time. So it sounds like I'm glad we'll be out at the site by 9 o'clock, but that means the equipment wrangler, that's 8 o'clock or thereabouts,
Oh, yeah. See,
depending how far it is from the site.
I see what happened. I put the glean leads as being from 9 to 1, but the general gleaners as being from 10 to 1. So that is incorrect. Okay. I will have to change that. I'm so sorry.
So you want
It
to start at 10 o'clock?
No, 9.
Oh,
Right,
9.
okay.
Yeah. The idea was to go from 9 to noon.
Okay, that's perfect.
So, okay.
I'll be able to
So-
stay the whole time now.
So
Oh,
will
yay.
the address be sent out to us later or?
I'm gonna update the Point app with the correct
Okay.
address. Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like that's one thing with the gleans. It's like the address is it's sometimes hard to nail down, right? And like right now, even as we're thinking through this, I'm like, oh, we maybe should change that. So just, I would say check the point app, like the night before the glean, and just double check it just to make sure that nothing has been updated. And also, I think I put a little note on the details, and it just said like, please note, like, is subject to cancellations. And so like if something should get canceled, it will email you. The point app will like send you an email saying like, this event you signed up for is canceled. But if you weren't signed up for an event and you were planning on it, just always kind of check the point app. Just the night before is my recommendation. So
That's a good recommendation. And then, Stephanie, do you know if it's true that when you do an update to the Point app to the event, um, isn't there an option to notify the volunteers, or maybe you can email all of the volunteers that have signed up? So, I mean, there's something
yeah.
that the planner has on their side also as another way of sending out a notification. But I think, yeah, always guiding people to the point and to check on the status before they leave their house, because things can happen quickly.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think
I
if an event got canceled, whoever that we do have signed up that is available, we will quickly be calling or texting, whatever that preferred method of communication is, and trying to let people know, or at least that's what I had done in the past, just because I
Mhm.
don't want to count on people always, they've checked their email and they know. I want to make sure they know if I can.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And I think that's what's really nice about the Point app is like my contact info is on there, or like whoever the Glean lead, that's whose contact it will be on there. And then it also is asking for volunteers to give their phone numbers, which I think is really nice because we won't like spam you or anything, but yeah, if it is canceled, it's going to be really nice to have that phone number to just give you guys a call. Um, so
Stephanie, I have a question. And you are welcome to take me to the side and explain, or however. Um, on the Point app or at any time, have we requested, or is emergency phone numbers available?
yes,
Is that
yeah,
on the
that
Point app?
I made that a requirement for the Gleans.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I know. That is a new feature on the Point, and I was like, oh, that's really good. So, yep. Um, cool. Well, yeah, sorry about the confusion on that. All those different positions, they really confused me, I guess. All right, cool. And I will say too that this clean for the cherries is gonna be definitely. Actually, this is a question for Alan. Alan, can we use fruit picking poles for cherries, or does that not work at all?
The
They'll fall
baskets,
through.
the baskets, the gaps between the wires in the baskets are really too big. The cherries will just, fall on yeah, they'll just fall out of the basket on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. So
Okay, yeah.
cherries are definitely kind of climb up the ladder and grab them with your hands.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
that is true. Although I was at a cherry glean and the homeowner had cherry gleaning sticks, which were sticks with some sort of like beverage container that had been used, maybe like a 2 liter, and they put a hole in it with a slot. And so when you go up, so that was at the end of the stick. And so you go up and it kind of hooks the cherries and everything goes into that container. And then we were bringing them down. And that
That's
tool
cool.
seemed to work really well. But again, it was very specific. It's not something we have in stock, but hmm,
Well, that
bring yours
homeowner
from
was
home.
used, that homeowner was used to gleaning their own cherries in order to get those cherries up there without climbing the ladder too far. They came up with their own homemade, gleaning stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
I
We should.
got
I'm sorry.
What were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say we should make those. That'd be fun.
We could have a crafting party.
Yeah.
Or we just show up on Saturday with, I want to see what you made. You want to see what I made? And then we have a competition how well they work. And then we know next year. A little bit, kind of being a little serious, but then I also don't know if I get my gleaning stick done in time, and then I'd just be embarrassed.
Actually,
Ashley, if I remember right, you had a lot of stuff going on this week. Like you have family and stuff coming. You're kind of busy too. Never mind.
Yeah,
I'm off
but
subject again.
we were able to make it work out. So I'll be able to come, and yeah, it's gonna be good.
That's
actually,
good.
you could take the gleaning sticks that we have, and it seems like we had somewhere between 4 and 10 of them. But you could take, like maybe 4 of them, and probably not duct tape, but you could use
Hose
something.
clamp.
What?
We have hose clamps. Hose clamps. So we have those baskets, the wire baskets that have not yet been connected to those poles that you're referencing. And with those wire baskets, each wire basket also comes with a hose clamp. Well, some of them did. Sorry, my mind is going, well, I think some of those sticks have screw things, but a hose clamp would clamp it down very well so it wasn't duct tape. That
No,
might be
I
an
wasn't
idea.
talking about the duct tape for doing any kind of clamping. I was thinking about the basket itself and the wire, and the fact that the spaces between the wires, the basket allows the cherries to, just fall out of there. But if you were able to take your basket and wrap something around it to make it a more solid thing, like, the liter pop container, then you could take something like our poles with the little kind of hooks up on the top, and you could actually put it up there and bring down the cherries into that basket. You just kind of have to figure out a way to make it a solid thing instead of something with the gaps between the wires.
I'm seeing cellophane. Is it cellophane, like the stretch wrap? I don't like this plastic, right? That stretchy plastic I want. Cling wrap, that's what they call that. Uh, uh and I just don't like it being plastic, and garbage. But man, that might be a good tool because it really does kind of suck around things and we can get it form fitting. If anyone else can think of something comparable to cling wrap, I feel like we might have some winner chicken dinner and we can try that idea out, Alan. I think that's a good idea. But I have self or cling wrap if we have to go that route. I'm just really hoping someone's like, hey, I got a better idea.
I do not have a better idea, but I like that idea because I'm just thinking about how like tall these trees are, and like with the ladders, it's gonna be hard even with the ladders, like I think we could get a lot more if we can reach up where the birds are. I don't know. That's it. I'll look at it tomorrow, like when I go to the warehouse. I'll take a look at it and try to see what we have and what I can do. But yeah, that's a good idea.
If we wanted to lose a couple of our baskets and just call them cherry baskets, or maybe they're plum baskets, maybe we could go back to that 2-liter bottle idea. You put the basket inside the 2-liter and then you give it a little melty melt. So it, what do they call that? Shrinky ring or shrinky dink something,
Shrink
where
wrap.
things, yeah, but the toys or people used to like color stuff and then they put it in the oven and it would,
Shrinky
you know what I'm
dink.
talking? Shrinky dink?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you can make your own shrinky dink with soda pop plastic. I think I saw that on TikTok or one of them things. Okay. I'll quit talking, and I kind of want to experiment with that idea too.
Yeah. Okay. So if you help out at the warehouse, bring your 2-liter bottles. That's what we're. That sounds good. Cool. Awesome. But where I was going with the whole ladder thing is make sure you guys did your ladder safety training thing, because we are like sort of trying to require that. Like, I don't know. It's still one of those things. The board has not made a decision on that, or maybe I'm wrong, Paisley, you can jump in, but it was kind of, I feel like it's something that there's not been an official decision on whether or not it's like being required. Um,
I think that
based,
it should, sorry, I think it should be required of all volunteers, and maybe there's an opt-out option. And it's very specific, like, hey, I'm just gonna be a planner, or I'm too old to be getting up on ladders anyway, and I'm not doing that. Just something, and then they're signing or Xing off like, I'm opting out and I'm holding no one liable. And then I don't know, Stephanie, I don't need to discuss right now. I guess part of that discussion, like when it comes to it being a board decision, we're the ones in here working and really know the liabilities and what we're working with. So I feel like it's our job to then inform the board and protect the board in some ways from those liabilities, and that ladder training being a requirement. And maybe we can, if it does seem like it's creating an issue, then adding on some opt-out option. But I think creating a lot of really good structure and having those training programs available will help our volunteers be safe, and also helps our program um, be strong.
yeah. Yeah. And Paisley, what do you think? Like, I know maybe this isn't the right place to talk about this, but like in terms of kids and ladders, I feel like I think we have a thing about you have to be 13 to get on a ladder.
I don't know the age.
Okay.
13 isn't a bad age. I think I might go a little, yeah, I mean, 13-year-old can help out so much, and I don't want to tell them no. That's no
Mhm.
fun, yeah.
I was on
Um,
a glean last year with some, they were like Boy Scouts basically, but not, they weren't actual Boy Scouts, but they were like similar type thing. And they were like 11 and they were getting up on the ladder with their dad. Like their dad was spotting them and they were up on the ladder. And I was like, that's awesome. He was doing great. So, stuff like that. I don't know.
I think that's a great idea. So maybe the age, I don't know, yeah, maybe the age isn't, I think the parent is signing off on that liability, and the child needs to be accompanying the parent. If the child goes up on a ladder, the parent is the spotter, really just trying to, so people can have fun, they can participate. We're not judging them whether they're capable or not. And again, like, I'm just thinking about liabilities as well. But I think if that parent is then spotting the child, the parent has taken the training, the child is now in care of the parent and the parent's decision to bring them to that glean. So what do you guys, I mean, we have volunteers, we have Alan, who's a board member, and then, yeah, what do you think of that idea? Or concerns, like anybody feel any concerns by what I just recommended, maybe for the parents being responsible for their children?
Well,
Kim?
I think, Paisley, that you have lots of times where parents are bringing their children, and there are probably 10 different scenarios or situations where the parent and the child is doing something at the gleaning site. And in this case, we're talking about a ladder. But I think to really cover ourselves and to make the gleaning experience workable for them and us, you have to do what you just described. You have to communicate to the parents that, while we're here, anything that your child does, you have to be in charge of them. You have to be their spotter. You have to be with them. Because if your child is here, we can't be held responsible for anything that your child, happens to your child. Therefore, we need to have you at all times being responsible, and working with your child on site. And I think we need to say that, to people. And if we take that position, then after something does happen to a child, it's a lot less likely that parents are going to either sue us or get angry or anything else. Because wait a minute, you were there, you approved of what was going on. You were the active, second member of the little team. And I think that would take care of us in most cases, except in the case where a dad is doing it and mom comes along and, slaps him upside the head and says, "Don't you dare put my little girl on that ladder. What are you doing, you goofball?"
I think that's great. I mean, sorry, finish the thought. I always said that gleaning is for the whole family, no matter how old you are or what you're able to do, we have something for you. And maybe it's helping haul buckets, and maybe it's, I don't know. I love kids coming out gleaning. I think it's a wonderful experience for them to have. I think it's a wonderful experience for parents to have with their kids. And I do think as for children trying to volunteer, it is really hard to find things that you can take your kids to that they can participate in, and feel included. And I think Gleaning um, does allow that. So, Alan, to your point of when it does happen, we will have, put things in place that then help, prepare and guard us from a bad reaction. I think it's that bad reaction that I feel that really helps reduce. And those bad reactions are really bad. They're really bad, and you really wish it never happened. I'm just saying, like, if you go into something and you aren't prepared and it goes bad, it could be, it's not comfortable.
Shar asked, is there any liability responsibility? And Paisley has a really good answer for this. She has the better spiel.
Well, I don't know if I understood that question. I did see it and I was kind of eyeballing it and thinking to myself, well, we're talking about liability issue here. Maybe in what context, Shar, are you thinking about liability? Like being on somebody else's property, or about Kids Up Harvest being responsible or liable for volunteers? We have insurance, so we kind of we've protected ourselves on worst case scenarios, but we have volunteers fill out something to take responsibility or understand that, this I can talk a lot, but sometimes words just fall out of my mouth, or they fall out of my head. When a volunteer signs that, they're taking responsibility for what they're being involved in. So liability wise, homeowners are safe. The Good Samaritan law protects them, and that's around, about their fruit. And then we protect our volunteers with the liability insurance, or with insurance, in case someone falls off a ladder and breaks a leg. I just didn't want the homeowner to ever feel like if something happened, that was going to be on them. So I think that kind of also goes back to that ladder training, enforcing the idea that if we're going to have volunteers on ladders on other people's property, we're really checking our boxes. And we can tell a homeowner, it'd be really nice to tell a homeowner, our volunteers have taken ladder safety training. It shows that we're prepared. We have thought forward. Did that answer your question, Shar?
we'll have to see if she responds. Um, just while we're thinking about this, do people have opinions on like what age? I mean, I don't have kids and I don't really know. I mean, like I said, I think there was an 11-year-old who was doing amazing, but I think, I don't know, if you guys who are parents are like, yeah, I wouldn't let my kid up on a ladder if he was under the age of this. Um, I don't know. I know Ashley and Kim are moms.
I don't think there should be a set age per se. I think it should be depending on the parents deciding whether or not they trust their kids to be climbing on that ladder.
Okay.
Because I feel like if we were to like set, let's say like 15 or 13-year-old, well, you could have like a 10-year-old that's like really mature that has like is living in a farm and doing all that stuff that's like already out there doing it, and but they won't be able to do it because of that. So it really, I maybe like have something where the parents would probably have to sign saying that they're going to be responsible for their kids if they will be working with the ladder. I think that would probably be better because for me, like I it's I'm gonna like look at my kids and be like, yeah, don't even bother going near that ladder because you're not, you know. So it just depends on the parents and how they see their kids.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really helpful. That's a
I
good idea.
absolutely agree. I would say the same thing.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Stephanie, and it's more than ladders. Like I said before, there's a wide range of situations that could happen where the organization or the homeowner uh, has a great deal of liability, and that's why sometimes people um, don't want, volunteers, or they, don't want people coming onto their property. Um,
Mhm.
for instance, we get invited onto a piece of property and we're gleaning, and the next door neighbor has a couple dogs, and they have a 3-foot fence, chain link fence, and normally that takes care of, the dogs. But when this group is there picking cherries or something, um, and there's children, and the children are kind of, running around and playing, the dogs at the next door property, they're pretty excited because there's some moving bodies that are making noise. And unbeknownst to that homeowner and everybody else, those dogs get so excited, they run, they jump this 3-foot fence, they go after the children who are running around, and some major damage is incurred onto those children. Well, there's going to be a lawsuit, and even though we have insurance and the homeowner has insurance, it's a nightmare for everybody. Um, and the responsible parties are oftentimes, yeah, the homeowner should not have allowed somebody to come onto their property knowing that, there's dogs next door. And as soon as she saw those dogs running around, she should have stopped the cleaners. The gleaner should have done some things, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how these courts wind up, or these cases wind up in courts. And then you scratch your head afterwards and you say, can't believe that, lawyers were able to, convince judges and juries about, who was liable and, things that have to be paid.
Mm.
There are cases where uh, volunteer organizations are infiltrated in a sense by a pedophile or someone of questionable character, questionable means, and unbeknownst to the organization, because they haven't vetted their people properly, something happens to a child or, one of the members, and then once again, it's a nightmare for everybody. So I'm only citing the case of, neighbors' dogs and, unvetted volunteers. But, simply put, there's a wide array of situations that could come up. And so I think once we walk onto somebody's property, not only the Glean lead, who's communicated to the parents of young children about, what the expectation is, it's important for the Glean lead and the adults there to be on their toes, so to speak. Oh, wait a minute, I hear kind of a buzzing sound. Oh, there's a bee's nest over there. Okay, let's stop. Let's not just say, oh, don't worry about it, everybody. I mean, we did have that happen on one of our gleans a couple of years back.
Yeah.
So I'm beating a dead horse here.
Let
Yeah.
me add on to the meeting real quick, because Alan, you do talk about a lot of things that I've kind of had to work through and concerns and weigh out because, man, if I overthink things, which it can do, it puts a complete stop. Like, well, just can't go forward, can't do that. Well, that's not the case. We have to do that. So how are we doing it? And some things you just have to step onto that bridge and you got to have faith, I suppose. You've put the best practices, the training, but I guess the thing that I wanted to add on, like as I was listening, about the volunteers and the kids and the bee buzzing, is maybe when we start a glean, we really do a kind of a huddle. I've been watching Ted Lasso recently, just got turned on to that show. And if you guys haven't seen it, I just really, yeah, there's so much good leadership, rallying together, really supporting your team. And I think if we bring that into a glean before we start, like, hey, we are looking out for each other. Today we're all family, or whatever the right word is, which means that we are the eyes and ears for everyone here. And even though this parent's responsible for their kid, what do they say? It takes a village. Today we're a village, or however that is. And really having that moment with the volunteers to then again help assist in those situations, because they're ever changing when we're out on a glean. And so having people with their eyes and knowing that they can speak and identify issues that they're seeing. And that's why we have a glean lead. Like, well, I don't want it to be one point person. I want everyone to, but I think you have to have someone you take that information to.
Yes. That was a good point. And
Well,
that's why
Paisley,
oh, sorry.
Paisley mentioned something that was kind of a real key of, making it possible for people to speak up and mention something, because a lot of court cases go the wrong way because it was pointed out that the person in leadership, the person in charge, ignored the warnings or ignored what was, shared by one of the participants. It's kind of like the coach that's, a couple of the kids are really gasping and, struggling. And the coach says, no, we're going to keep going here. Nobody's getting any water, you wimps. Well, the coach winds up in trouble because, they ignored the feedback, the information they were getting from the participants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Those are all great points. Thanks. I did take notes during that, so we have notes on it. All right. Well, I know that it is 7:03, so we're a little bit over. I did just want to mention that there are 2 sites in Port Orchard that Alan is kind of working with a little bit, and so there might be the potential for joining Alan on like a smaller nimble glean, if Alan is able to do that. It's still kind of TBD. And Alan needs to go check on the fruit as well, or
The
if
fruit, on I need to scroll down. I saw the address, the Valley Avenue East, Port Orchard. So
yeah.
that's kind of in the Manchester area. His fruit is immaculate. The yard underneath is all tiled or paved, has pavers, so it's nice and flat. and he has several other fruit trees too. So, yeah, that was a good glean. That was a real fun glean. That was a 2-person glean. Well, I mean, all nimble gleans should be 2 people gleans, but it was a satisfying 2-person glean.
Yeah.
So, Ellen, I hope you make it out there and give it a check out and maybe get someone else involved.
Yeah.
And that's a Manchester one address on Valley.
Yeah. 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 He said that his trees were loaded, or not all of them, but like one of his two of his. I don't know. But yeah. Super cool. All right. Well, everybody keep an eye on the Point app. I will update it and have it finalized for Saturday. And we still don't know about that one site, but I think we will. I can say for sure that we're going to start off on that 5th Avenue address. So I will update that on the Point app, and then that will be our starting place. And yeah, I hope to see you guys all there.
I want to
And
answer Char's question really quick about other gleans scheduled. And so, Char, since this is your first meeting, every Saturday it is planned that we will have one of these cluster gleans. We don't know where in the county, and so a lot of it is to be determined, but the schedule is going to be consistent every Saturday, first thing in the, starting in the morning. So I think we can create events out into the future with that TBD. And I think, yeah, I just wanted you to know, Shar, that it will be consistent. She's out. No, she's here. Yeah, that we will be working doing something. We just don't necessarily know where. That'll be dependent on the fruit coming in, but we have a map of sites where we have harvested before. And so we're working with that data. We can see when we've been out there last or whenabouts we do those harvests. And then all of those harvest sites during a time period is what we have to work with. And then we just, find out like, where's the fruit on, from past sites. And then that will, if it's an area like Bremerton where it's really thick, then maybe that's where the glean is. So that's how we're figuring out where the glean is and the schedule of the gleans.
yes, and they're already up on the Point app, I believe, through July. So you can sign up if you want. But it is like, yeah, we don't know where it's going to be yet. So you have to sign up with that caveat. So yeah, thanks, Paisley.
Thank you, Stephanie, for hosting this meeting. I guess we'll have to find out. Well, Alan is our host next week. So thank you so much for putting this together, Stephanie.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
group.
Hopefully Alan will email you guys and let you know about the next meeting. So, yep. All right.
All right.
Have a great night. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.